Okay, welcome to week 3. I think you're lucky Andrew Taylor's the course convener because he's taking things at a relatively gentle pace. Certainly gentler than I would have taken them. So if you think we're going too slow, blame Andrew. If you think we're going at just the right speed, praise Andrew. Alright, so remember all the stuff that I do in lectures is in that directory, ~js desktop. That's the shorthand way of referring to my home directory. And that character in front of JAS is a tilde character, not a minus. So it looks kind of like a minus on this screen. Week 3 is where I'll be putting all of today's stuff. And there's the files, and what I wanted to do was get the notes up. Should have done that before I started talking. Alright, so bit of admin, don't post code on the forum, or if you want to post 2 or 3 lines. Apparently some people have been posting their entire programs on the forum. And one thing that's particularly annoying is if people, and it's not just on the forum as well, it's actually in the labs and in the tubes. If you say, here's my program, it doesn't work, can you tell me how to fix it? Extremely difficult to work out just from that information. And I'll give you an example. Imagine if the C compiler worked like this. And that's all it ever did. Well, apart from compile. So if there was no error, it would give you an A.out. If there was an error, it would say error. Imagine how difficult it would be for you to work out what was wrong with your program if you're not getting any feedback about what kind of things might be wrong. So if you want to ask for help with fixing a program, always come along with some evidence. So here's the program, that's fine. Here's an example of what happens when I run the program. So I type in this input, this is the output I get. Right? So that makes it a hell of a lot easier for your tutor or for me or for Andrew or for the consultant to work out what's going wrong. Even better, come along with your program with some sample input and output and a hypothesis of what you think might be wrong. Because sitting down and looking at a program and looking at the output that it's producing is a critically important skill, especially if it's producing the wrong output, critically important skill that will help you, if nowhere else, it'll help you pass the practical part of the exam. So get used to looking at a program, looking at its output, and if it's wrong, trying to work out what might it be doing wrong that's causing the incorrect output. Alright, so let's go back to gedit. What else did I have to say? Don't forget, subscribe to the Ed Forum. Andrew tells me there's still about 100 people who haven't subscribed yet. Maybe they've dropped out of the course, who knows? Although, looking at the enrolments online, there are still almost the same number of people enrolled as there were at the start of the semester. Sort out email. Every time Andrew posts a notice and emails it out to the class, I get about a dozen bounced emails coming back saying, couldn't find this address, couldn't find this address, couldn't find this address. Now, some of that is due to the UNSW mail system. Some of it is due to you guys redirecting your UNSW email to somewhere else and getting the somewhere else address wrong. Okay, so all the email that's going to your UNSW email address, which is pretty much everything officially related to what you're doing here, is vanishing if you don't have forwarding set up properly. There are several ways to handle it. Just read everything through the UNSW email system, whatever it is, Open 365, I don't know, or redirect your mail to wherever you read mail. So make sure that you're looking at your email every day. So all my email gets redirected to my Gmail account, so I read it all there. So I don't want to see any more bounces. I think I'll try, next time I'll bring along a list of the addresses that were failing with the email and get those people. You know, if we haven't got your email address, it's hard to contact you to tell you that your email address is wrong. It's a little bootstrapping problem there. So I'll bring along a list of those addresses, ping it up on the board, and if those people happen to be in the room, you can come down and I'll try and work out what they've done wrong or what's going wrong. I know one of the problems is that people who did foundation studies, for some God unknown reason, UNSW email is still redirecting to foundation studies accounts. Alright, so last week we talked about expressions, conditional expressions that either return 0 if they're false or non-zero if they're true. So x greater than 5 is either going to return 0 or non-zero. It's not going to return 0 or 1. C doesn't guarantee that, it's just 0 or non-zero. Other kinds of expressions, standard arithmetic expressions, x plus 1. And of course precedence of operators kind of follows what you'd expect from maths. If statements, so selection, conditions, deciding what to do in the program. And we just got started on loops, while loops. And this week we're going to talk more about while loops, and maybe I'll say a little bit about functions later on. Andrew wants to get onto arrays fairly soon as well. So the kind of data structures that we've looked at so far have been pretty trivial, just numbers. So integer numbers and floating point numbers represented as doubles. So I just want to have a quick recap of C. So you're learning C as a programming language, you're learning a new language. It's a hell of a lot easier than trying to learn a natural language because it's systematic, it has well-defined rules, well-defined structures, and so the basic elements of a C program are statements and two typical flavours of statements: assignment statements, where you're simply setting the value of a variable, or where you're calling a function to do something for you, potentially returning a value which you then store in a variable. And you know, I keep mentioning scanf returns a value, but a lot of the time we just ignore the value that it returns. Right, so they're the atomic elements of C programs, if you like. Then we've got the control structures, so you can string a sequence of statements together, and basically that means do this statement, do this statement, do this statement, do this statement, and so on until you come to the end. Every statement in C has to be terminated by a semicolon. If you leave out the semicolon, you'll get a compiler error. So after sequence, we've got the ability to choose. There are a couple of different ways to choose stuff in C. We'll only look at if for this semester. So basically an if statement has a condition, then a collection of statements for the then part, and another collection of statements for the else part. So it evaluates the condition. If the condition evaluates to non-zero, then it will execute all this stuff. If the condition evaluates to 0, it will execute all this stuff. Repetition has a similar kind of flavour to what's going on here, except that you evaluate the condition. If it's true, i.e. not 0, you execute these statements, and then you go back and do it all again. So you just keep doing it until eventually the condition C becomes false. And then the loop stops and you go on to the next statement in the program. So that's it. So we've got statements, we've got control structures. Given all of that stuff, as I think I mentioned last time, you can write any possible program to solve any problem that has a computable solution. There are some problems that don't, but any problem like compute the value of pi or add up a bunch of numbers or whatever can be solved using just these structures, which is a pretty nice thing about computer science. A very simple base set of things that you need to create anything. Alright, so let's take a look at some programs. Now, I did want the editor. I wanted to continue on looking at a program that we started with last week. Okay, so printing multiples of 13. Remember we had that really stupid solution where you just had a printf for each multiple of 13. What for? You may as well just type the numbers in and be done with it. Then we had an even dumber solution that checked every possible integer in the range 0 to 1 to 1300 or 13,000. So we're trying to find the first 1,000 multiples of 13. That one looked at every number and checked, is that a multiple of 13? And if it was, it would print it out, otherwise it wouldn't. And it did that by writing a whole bunch of if tests, 13,000 if tests. This program here essentially does the same thing, but it does it a lot more compactly. It uses a while loop to generate the possible multiples of 13. So starting from 1 and incrementing by 1 each time. So we go around this loop until current number is greater than 13,000. For each current number, we check whether it's a multiple of 13. If it is, we then print it out. So what comes on the output is a sequence of multiples of 13. So this strategy of solving this problem is known as generate and test. So the generate part is basically those statements and that one there. So we're generating all of the numbers in the range 1 to 13,000, and the test part is this part here. Right, now that's still a pretty dumb way to solve the problem. It's much easier if you can actually just generate the correct sequence of numbers. So how might we go about doing that? So what's the first multiple of 13? 13. Right, so if we initially set current number to 13, and we then generate the numbers appropriately, then, I'll have to add the printf back. If we generate the numbers appropriately, then we can just, every number that we generate is going to be a multiple of 13, and we can just print it out. So what this relies on is the fact that we can actually generate the correct sequence of values. So we're starting from 13, we're going to print out the number 13, and we're then going to increment current number. So what do we need to increment it by to make sure that we get the next multiple of 13? 13, we just add 13 to it. So if we do that, then we're going to generate 13, 26, 39, blah, 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 up to 13,000. So the only values that we generate are the ones that are actually relevant. So rather than generating everything and taking a look and saying, is this one relevant, is this one relevant, is this one relevant, we just generate the relevant numbers. So, very simple analysis of what's going on here. In the previous version of this program, the loop would run through 13,000 times. In this version of the program, the loop only runs through 1,000 times. So you can see that this version of the program is probably going to be a bit faster than the other version of the program. And this notion of one version being faster than another version will crop up a lot in the rest of this course, and certainly in the data structures course. Okay, so that's, if you like, fixing that program to generate powers multiples of 13. I think that was all there is to that program. So that's pretty simple. So a simple use of a while loop. You know, if I wanted to generate all the numbers from 1 to 1,000, I'm sure you could adapt that to do that. Voila, we've got a program that will generate 1 to 1,000. But we shouldn't change the program to do that, because at the top of the program it says it's going to print multiples of 30. So writing the program to do something different to what the requirement says is an error. Alright, so that'll do for that one. Right, what else we got here? Where are we? I think the next thing I was going to look at was this one. Yeah. So if we wanted to generate a value based on a mathematical series, it's pretty straightforward in a language like C, although there are a couple of little subtleties that we need to be careful of. So let's say we want to produce the value of this series. Now if we just let it run, potentially that's an infinite series. We don't want to sit there for an infinite amount of time waiting for the program to generate the answer. And in fact, it wouldn't, even if we let it run for a relatively long period of time, it wouldn't generate the answer, because, why? Actually, it might here. I was going to say overflow, but I don't think we're going to get integer overflow out of this, or even double overflow. Right, so potentially we could run it for a long period of time. If we run it longer and longer, we're going to get a more and more accurate result, whatever that means in this context. But we decided we'll just run it for 1,000 iterations. So we'll take the first 1,000 terms from that series and add them all up. Okay, so we're putting in a hash define here. Did I talk about hash define? I haven't talked about hash define. Okay, in C, a very common thing to do is to have a constant that has some meaning in terms of the program. Now, in the program you could just put the constant, but then you kind of lose information about what that constant actually means. So it's generally a good idea if you've got constants in your program, except for trivial constants like 1 or 0, to give the constant a name. So that's just what we're doing here. So we're saying the number of terms in the series that we're interested in is 1,000. Okay, and we'll use that later on. And this is especially important if the constant value is going to be used in a number of different places. You want to make sure that it's used consistently. So if you type 1,000 in this function and then in a different file, you're meaning to use the same value 1,000, but you type 10,000 by mistake, then you've got a problem. But if all of the functions you use n series terms, then you're guaranteed that they'll be dealing with the same quantity in a consistent way. Alright, so, what am I doing? Oh no! Alright, I hope that's what the thing was. I guess we'll see when we look at the while loop. Beautiful. Alright, so here's the main program. What we're going to do to build up this summation is use an accumulator. So we've got this variable sum, which starts with a particular value and slowly gets incremented with smaller and smaller and smaller increments until eventually we decide we're going to stop adding stuff to it. Right, so we need a way of generating the increment values, and we need a way of keeping track of the sum. So a very common strategy in C is to have something like this. The new value of sum is going to be assigned the current value of sum plus some other expression. Okay, so we're adding whatever the value of the expression is onto the current value of sum. In fact, there's a shorthand way of writing it, and C programmers are inherently lazy. So rather than typing all of that in, you can actually type it in as. So that would be quite a common thing to see in C programs. So basically that's just saying increment the variable sum by the value of that expression 1 over n. Where does the 1 over n come from? Well, it's pretty obvious. It comes from here. So the very first term that we're going to add into this expression, we're actually going to compute as 1 divided by 1, which obviously is 1. So the initial value of n is 1. The initial value of the summation accumulator is 0. And always when you're doing a summation, or generally when you're doing a summation, 99% of the time, you'll start the sum from a value of 0. If you're doing a product, you're going to start from the identity for multiplication, so you're going to start with 1. So that's just standard kind of practice. Alright, so we want our loop to go until n reaches the value of 1001. So we want to go while the value of n is less than 1000. So initially n has the value 1. We make this test, the result is true, and we'll enter the loop and we'll do this. Sum, whose current value is 0, is assigned current value of sum plus 1 divided by n. N is 1. And so that'll add 1 onto sum. And then we increment n, we go around the loop again, check whether n is still less than 1000. Yes, it is. Now n is equal to 2, so sum equals sum plus 2. And so on and so on. And we just keep doing that until n reaches 1000. Now, let me see if there are any subtleties involved in this. Yes, there are in this example. Oh, I guess I should run the program just to, just to demonstrate. So this is the, what was it called? Series, that's right. So it runs and it produces that value there, 7.48. I don't know what that means, but there you go. Is that the correct answer? Don't know. I don't know what the final value of that series is meant to be. It's always a good idea to know what the answer is supposed to be so you can check whether your program is actually correct. Alright, what can we do to break this? Here's something that kind of looks a bit harmless. So rather than 1.0 divided by n, we'll just take 1 divided by n. Save that and recompile. Now we get the result 1. That's a little bit strange. Looks like the same program. It's always 1 divided by n. Anyone tell me what's wrong? Or can anyone tell me how we might go about diagnosing the problem? Here's what we could potentially do. Oh, what's that? It's a bit hard to tell if we can't see exactly what the increment is that's being added onto sum. So if we're trying to diagnose the problem, it's a good idea to actually print it out. So let's simulate what. So 1 divided by n, let's make it a floating point number anyway. So this is going to tell us what 1 divided by n is each time through the loop. Oh, all right. In fact, the compiler's helping us out. Even the act of trying to add the debugging statement in has given us a clue. It's saying that we want a double value, and what this is actually producing is an integer value. Now, if you remember back to what I said about division last time, if I divide two integers, I get truncation. I get division with truncation. And the result is an integer. Let's, that's not what I wanted. Alright, so let's keep the compiler happy and let's print that out as an integer, which is what the compiler is saying. It's claiming that we're trying to do. Right, so now DCC is happy. And if we run the program, then we see that. Okay, so every time we generate 1 divided by n, we get 0. And it's exactly for the reason I just described. It's happening as integer division with truncation. All of the values of n that we're dividing 1 by are all greater than 1. So 1 divided by anything greater than 1, when you truncate it to the integer value just below the result, you're going to end up with 0. Okay? So every time we generate 1 over n, we end up with a value of 0. Oh, silly John. Right. So that was the reason why the original program had 1.0 divided by n, because what that will do, it will force this expression to be evaluated as a floating point value. Okay? If you don't put it, it says, all right, 1 is an integer, n is an integer, I'll evaluate the whole thing as an integer division, and I'll do truncation and give you back an integer result. If you put 1.0, then it says, all right, it's a floating point expression, so I'll take 1.0, I'll divide by n, and I will automatically convert n to a floating point value. So if it was 2, it becomes 2.0, and the result is going to be an exact, close to exact floating point value. So now, if we were to do that, and go back and write things out, okay, now the compiler has gone away because we're consistent. The value of 1.0 divided by n and the %LF is going to give us stuff like that. Okay, so now we can see that the values that we're adding are non-zero. They're getting smaller and smaller, of course, but at least we're gradually accumulating a valid sum. And of course, that flashed 1,000 values passed very quickly, and I mentioned last time that if you want to look at the output of a program that's going past really fast, you can either scroll back in the window, or you can't if you pick the wrong window. Does this have a scroll bar? I can't see a scroll bar. All right, maybe you can't. The other, if you don't have a scroll bar, the other option is to run the program through a paginating program that just shows you a page at a time. So, okay, sum plus 1, sum plus a half, sum plus a third, sum plus a quarter, and I can just keep hitting the space bar and getting the next page of output until I get bored. And I'm bored about now, and then Q will quit from the program, and it doesn't actually print the result. Another thing you can do is another trick that you can do on Unix. If you're not interested in all the rubbish and you're really only, or the initial stuff, and you're only interested in what's happening at the end of the program, there's another Unix filter called tail, it'll just show you the last 10 lines of your output. So if you run it through tail, you just get to see the interesting bit. So occasionally useful as well. Alright, so you need to be a little bit careful with floating point and integer. So if you really want a floating point result, you need to make sure that at least one of the terms in the expression is a floating point. Actually, I'll show you another way that you can do that. You can leave that as 1, and you can say explicitly, I want n to be converted to a floating point value. Okay, so hopefully, if I do that, and then compile and run it, let's run it through less. So as you can see, we're still getting floating point results. So we're not getting integer division with truncation. So you can explicitly request an integer value to be treated as a floating point number, or even if you don't do that, if any part of the division is floating point, the whole thing will be treated as floating point. Okay? Right, anything else on that? Yep.
If someone's an integer value as opposed to a floating,
Yeah.
and you have 1.0, but it's still generated as well.
It would probably complain. Alright, let's try it. Easy enough. Notice that we assigned an integer value there, which was automatically converted to float. But let's change this to int. I think the compiler is going to complain about this. Yeah. Oh, but that's because, oh no, it didn't complain until right at the end. Interesting question. Oops. Gotta get used to this window manager. Alright, let's see. Interesting. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let me see, I should hypothesize. I'm really a bit surprised that it didn't complain. Oh well, let's try it and see. And let's run it through less so we get. Right, we're not going to see anything interesting there. I probably should have printed out the value of sum at each step just to see what's happening. So let's run it through tail and see what we finally get. Right, 1. So, interesting, I suspect what's happening is that sum is an integer, so when it's doing this summation it says, alright, sum is initially 0, alright, the first time through we're going to get, that'll come out as 1.0. It'll automatically cast that to an integer value, 1, add that to sum, so sum gets the value 1. On the next iteration, we get 0.5, and what it looks to me like it's doing is truncating that to the closest integer, which is 0. And all of the subsequent terms are going to be smaller than 0.5, so it's going to keep truncating it to 0, and we end up with a similar kind of effect to what we had before. If we actually wanted to see that, let's add let's see what value we get each time. print out the value of sum on each iteration. Okay. So, now that was running it to the tail, but each time it's just staying at 1. And I suspect it's doing that because this is less than 1, and it's just truncating it to convert to an integer value. Seems a bit crappy actually. I would have thought the second file would complain about it because it's actually a programming error, I would argue. Did you have a different question?
Yes, it was if you define the n as a double, would that make it for 1 n?
Yeah, you can have, you can then have an integer 1 divided by n. Yeah, that would work fine. Let's go back to the program. So the suggestion was make both of them into doubles. Not doubles, double. So C is perfectly happy to assign an integer value to a double. It'll just convert it to a floating point value, so that this value here will be converted to 1.0. This value will be converted to 0.0. Right, so the suggestion was do that. Is that right? Yeah. Or let me see if I can do that, but now we'll have to, okay. Have to make everything integer now, except for that. Right. Right, so what's going to happen here is when we do n equals n plus 1, n is a floating point value. We're adding the value 1 to it, so it's actually going to cast the 1 into 1.0 and add that. So n will start off as 1.0, then it will go to 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 and so on. Now potentially, because of the way floating point numbers are represented, eventually it might drift away from being exactly the same as the integer that it looks like. So rather than, eventually when we get to 1,000, n might be 1,000.0001, something, rather than being exactly 1,000. But it'll be pretty close. All right, so we saved that. Recompile. Actually, I want to run it through S. Yeah, all right. So n is being incremented appropriately. You can tell that from the first 4 terms. Okay. So need to be a little bit careful with integers and floats. The thing to watch out for is to have a division where both parts of the division are integers. Yep.
In line 24, you have
Yeah.
like the integer that you do that n series underscore terms.
Yeah.
Would you just write n instead of that? Like,
Yeah, I could.
if you write the constant in there, like, does it make any difference? Like, can you write, like, I don't understand how it works.
Actually, if I wrote n,
Yeah.
it would actually show 1,001.
Yeah, that's for me. Why is
Yeah.
that?
So the loop's going to continue while it's less than or equal to 1,000. So as soon as n becomes equal to 1,001, that's the point that loop will terminate.
Okay, so n will equal to 1,000 plus 1.
Yeah. So you could print out n minus 1
Okay.
if you wanted to. But you need, well, I mean, this number is not particularly meaningful, so maybe we don't need to add that final term in anyway. So we could do n less than 1,000 and do the first 999. Really depends how accurate you want things to be. Any other questions on this? So just be careful, floating points and integers. Yep.
You had % f earlier. Does that just mean floating point?
Yeah.
What
What's the difference between a float and a double?
One double's bigger. A double is like a large float. In terms of bits, a float would typically be 32 bits, a double will be 64. So you can represent things more accurately with a double. Andrew has a thing about floats. He thinks you should never use floats ever. So he does everything as doubles, and if you want to print out a double, you're supposed to print %LF. If you do %F and the argument is a double, then it will give you something approximately close to what you have. So you'd only notice in the final digits if there was any difference. Alright, yeah. Anything else? Wow, it's amazing how much you can dissect such a simple program. Shows off all these subtleties. So that's one thing about programming. There's a lot of very subtle points, and if you get them wrong, the program ends up doing the wrong thing, and you end up just getting rubbish out. Now, since we didn't know what the output was supposed to be here, or we don't really know if we've got the correct answer, but let's take a look at one where we do know what the correct answer is supposed to be. This program here, so calculate the value of E using this particular formula here. So it's a little bit similar to what we were just looking at, except that the denominator is slightly more complicated. So the denominator is effectively factorial. Okay, so 2 factorial, well, 1 factorial, 0 factorial if you want to treat 0 factorial as 1, 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, and so on. And notice that thanks to screen wrapping, the plus ... that would have normally appeared here is wrapped around to the start of the line. And if you want to go and look up this formula, there you go, have a look on Wikipedia. Alright, you can get a reasonably accurate representation for E just by taking the first 8 terms in this series. So that's why Andrew's chosen 8. What was it? That was 1 times 2. Must be an undo function in this editor that I better work out. Okay, so standard introduction to a C program, got a main function. Alright, so now what we've got, in the previous example, if I remember, we only had a sum and a counter. Now we've got a sum, a counter, and a product. And so rather than just maintaining 2 things, incrementally updating the sum and incrementing the counter by 1 each time, we have to do 3 things. So we have to maintain the value of the product and maintain the value of n and incrementally update the sum. Okay, so initial values, we'll start off with n equals 1. Sum, because it's an accumulated sum, we typically start with 0. We don't have to, we could start with 1 in this case because we know that the first term is supposed to be 1. But we'll start with 0, and the initial value of the product is 1. Okay, so we've got a loop that goes through that many times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to in series terms, which in this case happens to be 8. On each iteration of the loop, it's actually going to print out the value of the term that's being added in, then it will add the term in, and the extra step that we've got here, n equals n plus 1 we had before, so we're just incrementing the loop counter. But here what we're doing, we're maintaining the product. So the first time through the loop, product is equal to 1. Second time through the loop, product equals product times 1, so it's at 1 again. The next time through the loop, n will be equal to, well, when we reach this step here, n will be equal to 2, and it'll be product times 2, and then it'll be 2 times 3, 2 times 3 times 4, and so on. So as well as accumulating a sum, we're incrementally accumulating this product. So we're storing the previous value of the product as it went through the loop, multiplying by the current value of n, that's giving the new value of product for the next term in the series. Now we need to be a little bit careful with the ordering of things here. If we were to move n equals n plus 1 in front of product, then we'd miss a term. So we'd end up adding, we'd end up incrementing n to 2 on the second iteration. So we'd miss one of those first terms. So we'd effectively end up starting from there and miss 1. So we'd end up with e minus 1 if we got those two statements in the wrong order. So anyway, let's compile this up and see what we've got. Notice Andrew's version of this is called calculate underscore e, but I'm too lazy to type that every time. So I'll just have a very short. That was not helpful. One bad thing that less does, it clears the page after it's finished. So if you've got less than a page of data, you end up losing it. Alright, so this is what's being printed by that printf statement inside the loop. It's telling us what each term is. So initially we've got 0. If you go back and look at the code, it explicitly prints 0. Then 1 divided by 1 to give you that first term. Then, this is effectively 1 divided by 0 factorial, 1 divided by 1 factorial, 1 divided by 2 factorial, 1 divided by 3 factorial, and so on. And you can see that the result, since we know what the value of these, well, we're getting reasonably close, even just by taking 8 terms. So if we were to take more terms, we'd get gradually more and more accurate. So this stuff here is being explicitly printed by the final printf in the program. Each of these individual terms are being printed by a printf statement in the loop. So let's go back and look at that. So the individual terms are being displayed by that, and that final result is being displayed by that. And the initial 0 that we saw printed is being printed by that printf statement. Well, let me see. Any questions on that? So I guess the trick here is that we're maintaining two things as we go. We're maintaining the sum up to a certain point, gradually adding in terms, but at the same time we're maintaining the value of this product over each iteration. So we're incrementally increasing the value of that product on each iteration of the loop. As I said, it's important to get these things in the correct order. If I wanted to, I guess I could move n equals n plus 1 in front of product equals product times n. If I did that, I'd need to make sure that I started my sum with a value of 1, and then things would work as expected. I hope. Let's just check that. Try that. Good. Aha, I've mastered copy paste. Gee. Good. Right, so let's try that one. Am I going to haven't saved the file in, so if I compiled it up and ran it, I'd be running the old version and I would be confused. Okay, compiles alright. When we run it, we get a slightly different outcome because we're doing the product before we do the increment of, sorry, we're doing the increment of n before we do the product. So actually we add one more term into the result. Now that doesn't matter. Basically it just makes it a little bit more accurate. So that's fine. But if we were really worried about how many terms got used in the calculation of this value, then we might want to be a little bit careful about making sure that the termination condition was correct. Right, so if you look up here, the final term that was added in was that. Here it's that one here. So we're adding smaller and smaller values each time. So it'll still work if you change the order of the statements, but you've got to make sure that you start the sum from an appropriate value, okay? 1 rather than 0 in this case. Right, this thing here is just giving me a blank line on the output, in case you were wondering. Alright, I think I may have had that variation in another file. Yeah, so this is the version. This is a different version where I've scrambled all the order of statements inside the while loop. So you ought to go and compare those two versions just to see how the order makes a difference. Okay, so that's reasonably straightforward if you're happy to maintain this product each time through the loop. So the product gradually gets bigger and bigger and bigger on each iteration of the loop. It's larger and larger. An alternative approach, maybe not quite as efficient, but maybe more obvious, is to compute the product on each iteration of the loop, compute the whole product. So let's take a look at a variation I've done that does that. Okay, so we're solving the same problem. And now we've got 2 loop counters. We've still got a product, but the product isn't built bit by bit, isn't built incrementally. We recompute the entire product on each iteration of the loop. So what we're doing in the program becomes a little bit more like this. So we compute that and then take 1 divided by that and then add it to the sum. And then on the next iteration of the loop, we compute this, divide it 1 by it, and then add it into the sum. And on the next iteration of the loop, we compute that and then divide 1 by it, and so on. So in order to do that, clearly the process of computing that product involves some repetition. So we're going to have a loop inside the loop. So we've still got the main loop that we had before, while we haven't seen enough terms. Come here. This is you guys clogging the network up, I'm sure. Well, maybe not. Alright. So this part, n equals n plus 1, sum equals sum plus 1 divided by product. That's the same as before. The difference is that inside the loop we recompute the product each time. So how do we calculate a product? Well, we need a counter, so that we're going to accumulate 1 times 2 times 3 times 4, so we need to generate 1, 2, 3 and 4. We need a product variable to hold the accumulated product. And so this is the standard technique that we use to do that. So a loop counter going from 1 up to n minus 1 in fact. It goes from 1 to n. Our product initially has the value 1, and we run through the loop from 1 up to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, because we're adding 1 each time, until we hit n plus 1, by which point, until we hit I equals n, by which point we would have multiplied all of the values to produce the final product. Actually, I'm wondering why it's not I less than or equal to n. I kind of think it should. Okay, so we want to run from 1 up to n and compute the product that way. So this little chunk of code is computing a product, very standard kind of strategy for doing that. If we had a factorial function, it would be an obvious thing to call the factorial function at this point. But having computed the product, we then use it in the same way that we used it before. So this technique is not going to be as efficient because you're recomputing the product each time. In the previous example, you're simply maintaining the product, multiplying by 1 extra term each time. But as a demonstration of how you can calculate a product, that's useful, and also as a demonstration of how you can put one loop inside another loop. Okay, so we've got the outer loop, which is as it was before, and we've got this inner loop, which is being used to calculate the product. So that whole chunk of code there is simply being used to compute 1 times 2 times 3 up to n. Questions on that? No? Good, all right. Let's have a break then. We've run past 12 o'clock just to annoy Echo 360. All right, so we'll have 10 minutes break and then take a look at some more loops.